Hello everyone, this is John Jenkins. I'm bringing another video to you. Last week, I was at the library in my neighborhood and I came across this book. It was very interesting. It said, well, it was another book actually, and it has this very odd title. I couldn't really understand what the title meant, but in the credits on the back of the book, it mentioned another book, which also happened to be on the same shelf as that first book. And I looked at the title and it said, Everything I Needed to Learn About Life, I Learned in Kindergarten. That was the title of the book. And it had the standard things that it listed the standard things on the back of the book. It listed the standard things that people usually learn in kindergarten. It said things like share everything, put things back when you use them, flush, and just the type of stuff that a kindergartner would learn. So you probably learn all those things before kindergarten, but especially in my house, we knew how to sign our names before we knew how to read. My mother had our home sort of partitioned off as sort of like a classroom, and she used to take teacher supplies. She used to go to the teacher store and pick up teaching supplies, and she used to teach us math and reading and things like that from home. So we learned a lot of that stuff before kindergarten, but I digress. So I started to think, what was the pivotal point in my life? When was the I even went a little bit more extreme. I said, when was the one grade in school that taught me everything that I needed to know about life? So from the time that I learned it to the time that I died, this is the information that I need to remember and apply to my life and adapt my life according to this information. So I started to think it wasn't the early years because I was still in the fog back then. I didn't really absorb, I absorbed information, but as far as life lessons that were going to last me forever, I didn't really learn what I needed to know that was going to make me a productive adult and keep me out of trouble. And ironically enough, it was the same year that I got in trouble that I learned how to stay out of trouble. And the one grade that taught me everything that I need to know about life was actually my last year of college, which was in 2008. So yes, my last year of college is when I learned everything that I need to know about life, and it was really just this catharsis. I came out of 2008 feeling like I was on top of the world. I was the happiest I'd ever been, even though I was in a dire situation. And uh, The question is, what did I learn? The question is, what did I learn in 2008 that was so important that's going to last me for the rest of my life? In my opinion, I mean, it could change at any moment. I can learn something new. I learn new things every year. So it could change at any moment. But for right now, this is the one year that taught me everything I need to learn about life. And I have a few lessons. This isn't everything that I learned in 2008, but really when I was out there trying to get my internship and the internship was canceled and I dropped out of college and all the walls seemed to be closing in, and these are the lessons that really should last the rest of my life, that really just taught me the truth that they don't teach you in school. I was taught one truth growing up, but it turns out in real life that's not the way the real world works. And these are the 10 lessons that make make my final year of college the most instructive year of my life. All right, lesson number one: if they won't feed you, leave. Now, I learned this lesson the hard way. I remember I was in college and I was subsisting on a candy bar a day, basically. You know, they didn't feel they had to feed me because I was an adult, and I did. This ties in with the net with number two. But they didn't feel the need to feed me because I wasn't a helpless child. I basically, in their mind, I shouldn't have been living there anyway. Which ties to number two. So they really did not prioritize feeding me, and like I said, I was subsisting on a candy bar a day for many weeks, and the the thing is that you have to eat food. I mean, this is obvious. You can't survive without sustenance, and wherever that sustenance comes from, if you have no other choice, then you have to leave home. You have to find sustenance, and you have to hold on to it until you find something better. Now, number two, if you are over 18, don't stay with your mother. Now, this is extremely important, and I'm not going to get into demographics, no matter who you are, if you're over 18, because after you reach the age of 18, in the back of the mind, they're thinking, well, I am not legally required to help this person, and I could easily just kick them out. So you really don't have, you're, you're, you're not on solid ground, basically. If you go out, I mean, you you would literally be better off at a shelter. If you can't get a job, nobody's gonna hire you, even without a criminal record. Then go to a shelter. You're better off at a shelter than living with your mother after the age of 18. And number three, don't blame others for things that go wrong in your life. Don't blame others for things that go wrong in your life. This is important mostly because if you blame other people, then you give them the power over your life. It is no longer in your power. It's up to them basically. It's up to them to see you through, to make you successful in life. and you have nothing to do with it. So don't blame others. And also because you really do have a lot of control over how your life goes. And there's no, mythical man in the sky who's making all the decisions, or the stars are not in your favor or against you. It's you're making these decisions, and you can have a lot of impact, and you can influence the direction of your life. Number four, people respect power, not paper. This is for people who go to college. This is for, this could even be applied to people who have a lot of money. You know, People respect power. If you control the means of production, if you have a good family name, if you have influential parents, then you're going to get a lot in life that you're not going to get waving around a piece of paper called a diploma and just hoping and praying that somebody's going to recognize it. I'm a firm believer that companies are going to hire who they're going to hire, regardless of whether or not they have a piece of paper in their hand. And that could even apply to people who have a lot of money. People want to say, what can I get really? What kind of economic benefit can I get from helping this person? What kind of prestige is it going to bring my company to hire this demographic over that demographic? What kind of sort of international transcendent sort of perks am I going to get by dealing with this person, as opposed to somebody who just has a piece of paper and is saying, take a chance on me because I'm a fresh faced new person, and I can't give you everything that this well connected person can get you. Uh, but I have the credentials. So basically, if you want more out of life, you got to get power, not diplomas. You got to get power. You have to control things. Number five, if you are truly great, nothing can stop you. I don't know, I don't remember what it was that made me write that. I think it was probably more of expanding on number four. If you can control the means of production, if you can be in charge of your own life, and you can be creative, you can be entrepreneurial, then a lack of degree isn't going to stop you. I mean, I believe that my college education taught me a lot, and it's probably going to be a big advantage in the future. But I, it, if I had been able to, if I had quit college and kept my job, my first job, and just saved up my money, I would have been in business a long time ago, and instead of continuing my college education. So college college can help in your career, but really it's about if you aspire to be great, you do great things. That's really what's going to bring you through. Number six, chances are that you've already surpassed the previous generation. Basically, my mother was on welfare. She went to college like me, she didn't finish. But there was a major difference between us in that, well, my mom was pushing out kids on welfare, including me. I was conceived on welfare. I'm not doing that. And in addition to that, it's not like it was what when I was growing up. You know, I'm much better with money, much better with money than my parents were. And I haven't surpassed my middle class relatives, I have surpassed the previous generation of my family. So I don't have to worry that I'm a failure because I'm already ahead, even without the ability to get a job. I couldn't get a job when my record was clean. So even without that, I still surpass uh, the previous generation of my family. So chances are, in today's nowadays, in today's economy, you probably are doing better now than your parents were at your age. Even though they raised you, even though they kept telling you what you were doing that was wrong, you probably surpassed them already. So don't worry about being considered a failure because you're doing better than them, and that's more than anybody could ask for. There's certain countries in this world where kids always do worse than their parents, but you're doing better than your parents. So that's something to be happy about. Number seven, let go of everything that is holding you back. Basically, the thing that changed my life around was that I was holding on to this sort of uh, politically correct ideology that said that as long as I don't as long as I don't upset the powers that be, as long as I'm a good little boy and I do the right thing, then my life is gonna eventually work itself out. All I have to do is sit there and wait for somebody to acknowledge how hard I'm working at being a good person, and then they will fix it for me. And you know, primarily this rule is applying to. It actually applies to the next rule, number 8. Basically, whatever stuff that you have accumulated in life, you're gonna have to walk out and let it be thrown away so that you can get something better. And when I was living at home, the main reason why, even though I should have been out there the first day it happened, the main reason why I didn't leave was because I all my stuff, all the stuff that I accumulated since grade school. I didn't want to leave it there. I wanted to take everything with me. I wanted to have enough space for all my things. And once, it's like I said before, once I let go of all that stuff and walked out of there, and when I finally realized that I was letting it all go, I was the happiest man in the world. My somebody, somebody at my house commented about how I was smiling so much, even though they thought that I should be crying. They thought that I should be devastated, but I was the happiest I'd ever been in my life, and that happiness lasted for years. And so that applies to the next one, number 8, which is break the rules when you need to. You know, if chances are, if you chances are that if you're breaking the rules, it's because following the rules didn't work, or or it didn't work enough. I remember, I was such a good little boy. I went out every week to apply for jobs, and I got desperate like so many young people, and I went out and said I'm just gonna uh, volunteer, and I couldn't even get a volunteer job. You know, and that was important because if I had been allowed to follow the rules, get a job, then I could have avoided the the unrest in my life. I could have avoided all the conflict in the world if I had been able to get another job after I quit my first job to go back to college. If I had been able to get another job, I would have been able to pay my own rent, and I would have been living independently, and I wouldn't have had to care what somebody else is trying to do to me, or what somebody else thinks about me, or they think I'm getting too big for my britches, and they need to take me down a peg and show me that I'm not this big important college boy. I'm just a Negro like everybody else. Just gotta show me up. I wouldn't have had to deal with that if I had been allowed to follow the rules. You know, and if following the rules doesn't work, you have to break the rules. And I don't condone breaking the law, but there are certain people in this world who think that I can mess with this person forever because he's afraid of because he won't break the rules to get at me. He won't break the rules to confront me. I can use the rules against this person to hurt them forever because they won't break the rules. They won't turn around, look at me dead in my face, and say, "If you don't stop, you're gonna get hurt." They won't do that. So I can mess with this person until they collapse. Certain people think that way. So you have to. Certain times you have to break the rules. You have to deal with your problems directly instead of waiting for some authority figure to come along and say, "That's not fair. Don't treat that person that way." Sometimes you have to directly go straight to the person who's bothering you, and you need to move them out of the way, or inflict pain on them so that they can so that at least you'll be forcing yourself out of the situation. At least, at the very least, the worst that can happen is they'll throw you out, and lo and behold, your life will get 10 times better after they throw you out, and their lives will get 10 times worse. So that's that rule. And number 9, respect the police. I have a lot of respect for the police, if for no other reason than they could kill me today. They could literally walk into my, pick the lock in my room and walk in and shoot me in the head, right as I'm recording this, and they would probably get off. All they have to say is he's got a criminal record. You gotta respect somebody who has that kind of power. I have a little bit of respect for the courts, because they can actually give you that criminal record. But the cops they're like, you know, they've got all this power over life and death, and so I have immense respect for the cops. Even when I had my episode and I broke the rules, I did what the cops told me to. I always speak clearly when I'm around cops. Even though stop and frisk is illegal in Chicago, on the one occasion that I did get stop and frisked, I was very respectful, and yeah. So plus I believe in law and order, and somebody has to be the cop. In order for there to be law and order, somebody has to be the cop. And so I think it would be easier and more beneficial for society if people just let the cops do their job. And that brings us to our number 10. Don't give up anything unless you never really had it to begin with. This really ties into my number, the first two, actually. Basically, if you are living with your parents and you don't have a job and you can't get a job, and nobody will hire you, and you don't have any way of providing for yourself, then you need to leave that house immediately. Because you never had anything there. You're an 18-year-old, you're above 18, they're not legally required to care about you. If they don't feed you, they're not going to go to prison for child neglect. They're just going to say, oh, get out. Basically, that's it. You don't like it, get out. You're an 18-year-old. And, basically, it's like the Bible says, you're on sinking sand if you are not in control of the situation. Basically, I get the only thing that made me mad about when I got thrown out of the house was that I didn't just walk out years before that. I didn't just leave when I was 18, because when you're living in that situation where you have a single mother, and she's remarried and she's got this new man and she really wants to keep him, so she's got to push the rest of you away and focus on him, and any disagreements that come up, she has to side with him, because he's her main squeeze. She wants his love. She wants a love of an adult to an adult, not an adult to a child. And basically, you have to you have to get a solid foundation. And if you can't get a solid foundation, you just get a better foundation. Something that's gonna last you while you figure out how you're gonna get out of the the bad situation that you're in. I mean, I can't complain about my current situation. I eat every day. I have plenty of blankets for when it's cold. I have clean water. I have I have some of the highest speed internet in the country. I actually tested it. My internet connection is one of the fastest in the country. I actually paid off my overdue fines at the library, so I read 4 hours a day with books from the library. Plus I buy books, but I'm more likely to read a book if it's from the library because if I own it, then it's like, oh, I can always read that later. But if it's from the library, it's like, oh, I got to read this now because it's got to go back in a few months. So, it's it the title of the book, which I mentioned in the beginning, which was everything I need to know about life I learned in kindergarten. So that was his experience, and my experience. It was my last year of college back in 2008. So let me know in the comment section what was the 1 year of your life that was the 1 year the 1 year of your life where you learned everything you need to know that you're gonna continue with for the rest of your life. That was just so profound and so transformative that you can't let it go and you always think about it and it really helps you. So let me know in the comment section. Like if you like, dislike if you dislike. Have a nice day.